Welcome, everybody. We're going to start over from the top. Welcome, everybody. This is Anonymous Live 52. If you're new here, this is a very different place than you might be used to on this channel. This is a place where we're going to be taking anonymous calls for the next 2 hours. We have no idea who's going to be calling. In fact, you might be calling tonight. We don't know who has what on their minds. And the goal of this place is to you kind of think of it as like a digital friend. I believe that friendship is a special thing, and that conversation ought to be an open thing in friendships. People go through hard things in life, and it's amazing to me how novel it is to have friends that will listen to things that are difficult. And that shouldn't be a novel thing, in my view. That should be a thing that friends do for each other. And you guys have been I almost said valuable, and that would also be true, but more than valuable. You guys have been, this community here, my YouTube channel, all of you who have been subscribed for so long have been integral to my life. And this is a special project that I want to use to kind of pay it forward, and also to kind of inspire people to be there for the friends in your life that may be going through things that are difficult to talk about. This is what friends are for. And so this is a special place here. It's very different than a lot of the stuff I put out here, but we do these a couple times a week to kind of try to inspire people to be there for their friends and to remind people what friendship is about. And so if you're new here, we'll be here for 2 hours taking calls, and lines are opening now. Sorry for the audio issues, guys. Every week, it seems like there's some kind of audio glitch. It's always the audio, too. I don't know what Bill Gates has against audio. These are the jokes. On my Mac, everything worked fine, except for when I hit the dongles, and I learned to not touch around the dongles. Yeah, so there's no perfect streaming system these days, it seems. Goodness gracious. Okay, so we have some calls coming in. We're going to jump right in tonight. Hello, thanks for calling.
Hello?
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm all right. How are you tonight?
I'm pretty good.
What's on your mind? Can we start with your age? Yeah. Can we start with your age and a brief intro? Can we start with your age and a... Sorry, I think there might be a lag. Can we start with your age and a brief intro?
Sure. I'm 24. I recently went through a breakup, but also I'm going through a transition. Been going on a gender transition for the last couple months, and I had a recent breakup, which didn't last very long, but just kind of been processing how all these changes in my life are coming together and how they're affecting a lot of aspects of my life, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot. Why did the relationship end, do you think?
I don't. It's kind of hard to pinpoint it. I feel like it was. I guess it comes down to incompatibility. My sex drive kind of just got. It's just gone from taking hormones, and that's, I guess, kind of a downside to it that I've been finding out. And my partner is very sexually active, and I kind of bummed them out. But they were super nice, and I just kind of feel bad that I wasn't able to process my emotions, and I just kind of feel like I let them on, even though I wasn't able to, even though I wasn't sure about a lot of things, and I just kind of pressured myself into a relationship.
You feel like you pressured yourself into the relationship. Is that what you said?
Yeah, it does kind of feel like that. I definitely had second thoughts about it at first, but I think since I had been thinking that, I don't know, sometimes I feel like I overthink things, and I should just be doing things I should just be doing things like that I feel I should do. But I guess in this one case, it wasn't the right thing to do.
So what would you say is the hardest thing at play here? I mean, you're certainly, I mean, if you're going through some gender dysphoria and a breakup all at once, I imagine that's got to be really confusing. So are those two things connected in some way, or are they separate? Or you mentioned
Yeah,
them.
in a way, I think they are connected. I don't know exactly how yet, but yeah, there is some sort of feeling that that I don't know, that I didn't feel, that my partner made me feel sort of put off. I don't know. It's weird because um, I thought I was into women. I thought I've been into women, and I've had relationships with women before. But then this time, it just kind of felt like I wasn't, like, I was maybe romantically attracted to them, but there was a deeper sense, not just sexual, that I wasn't attracted to them, even though, I really enjoyed being with them. So it's just kind of like, sometimes, like, now I'm thinking that, like, maybe I'm not attracted to women, or maybe we didn't know each other that well, maybe I just didn't like them at all. But it's just kind of like gender plays a role in it, because a lot of things that we would do would make me feel weird, and I don't know if that's coming from a gender aspect or just a normal, like, not feeling completely comfortable with somebody else in the relationship. That's fine.
Am I on speakerphone or something? I'm having a hard time hearing you. You sound a little tinny. I'm losing some words.
No, does this sound better?
We'll keep going. I'm tracking with most of what you're saying. I'm just trying to. I want to make sure that. I mean, you've called in, and I want to make sure I can hear you. But
Let me try. I'm wearing headphones. Let me try just switching to the phone.
Okay.
How about there?
Much better. Much better.
Oh, great. Cool.
Yeah. So, what kinds of things you said in the relationship? You felt like some things were. I can't remember the word you used. I want to say it made you feel uncomfortable or confused or something like that. What kinds of things, if you don't mind sharing, what kinds of things were making you uncomfortable or confused in the relationship?
Yeah. I guess this person made me feel really good about a lot of things, and they were very verbal. They needed a lot of, like, verbal affirmation, which I'm not very used to giving. And it was kind of uncomfortable receiving all of that, which sounds weird that I'm uncomfortable receiving compliments, but it just kind of like tells me that there's something to look into. Like, I can receive all these compliments about me and, like, who I am and my body, but I'm still not able to process it that way. So that's just kind of like it kind of just bums me out, or it just kind of confuses me a bit, because I don't really know what that means for me.
Are you familiar with this book, The 5 Love Languages?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I've never read it.
It is, if I recall correctly, I believe it's laced with a lot of Christian messaging, and I don't know where. I don't think you have to be a Christian to appreciate this book. In fact, uh, uh, it's come up a lot on this stream. This book, the book talks about the different ways people receive love, and I'm only bringing it up because you mentioned some kind of disconnection between, and it doesn't sound like you want to salvage this relationship. I'm not saying that uh, that it doesn't sound like you're looking to salvage the relationship. I'm not trying to, fix your relationship. I'm bringing it up because you mentioned you don't know why it is you have a hard time accepting praise or compliments, and it sounds like maybe your former partner. It sounds like their love language was words of affirmation, according to this book, the language that this book would use. Uh, and maybe yours is something different. Some people, and I don't think the world is so cut and dry, but this book is a very popular book, and it does a really good job of making some generalizations, some good generalizations that are constructive, helpful, over the ways different people get along in relationships, and one of them is there's 5 different ones this book uh, proposes. One of them is words of affirmation. One of them is physical touch. One of them is gifts. One of them is acts of service. I can't remember all of them offhand, but I just named 4. I'm missing one of them because I'm on the spot here. But it's an interesting book. I want to put this in the chat for you. I'm not trying to end the call, but this book came to mind as you were sharing, so I want to put this in here right now before I forget. It's a great book. The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. You might check it out. It's a short book. It might help you realize some things about yourself. It might help you realize some things about past relationships. And it sounds like you're in a place of searching right now. It sounds like something's not jiving, and you're looking for some answers. And I don't know what those answers are. We won't get to the bottom of all of them tonight, of course, on a short call. But I'm mentioning that book because of what you're saying about some differences in some relationships you've noticed, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's something I'll try to look into for sure. It's I think it is more of just trying to figure out just trying to process my feelings, because I mean I can tell what my feelings are, and yeah, I'm pretty sure that I don't want to continue this relationship. I don't think it would be healthy to continue this relationship, or to try to continue the relationship at least. But yeah, it's just processing like where these feelings are coming from, because they've kind of just I've kind of been processing feelings a little differently now, and it just kind of comes on all at once, and it's harder for me to take a step back and kind of analyze things, I've noticed.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you say, you mentioned, I mentioned that book. I don't want to get too far off track, because I don't think that's the reason you were calling, but I mentioned that as an aside. You were saying earlier that you felt the gender dysphoria and the terms of the relationship, we'll say, were maybe at odds or tugging on each other. And you mentioned that some of that was due to some libido mismatch that you have picked up on in yourself. And I wonder if there was anything else that, I'm coming back to this because you mentioned both of those things at the top of the call, virtually in the same sentence. And I think that said a lot, that it sounds like at least you felt those 2 things were connected in some way. So what else is there? What else is on your mind that led you to call tonight?
I guess I just kind of sometimes, talking about it helps me process that these feelings have been kind of just, it's like manifesting like physically, like I've just been really, really depressed, and really like I can't think about much, and I tend to, when I'm in these types of situations, I tend to just think about things a lot and just kind of zone out during the day, and I get this like gnarly feeling in my throat that that's just like there's like a lot there, and I just start like manifesting all these feelings physically. I get like sores in my mouth, which is weird. But yeah, it just tells me that. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about it. and see where I could get by saying it out loud. I haven't really had the chance to talk about this with the other people. It was a pretty short relationship, and I feel like I'm maybe stressing too much over something that didn't last very long. But I just think that like these problems are not just the relationship; it's just other things that I should be looking into that are coming up because of that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Makes a lot of sense. So, how long ago did the gender dysphoria kick in? How long have you had uh, questions about that for yourself? Is this a new thing that surprised you in this relationship, or was it a process that you noticed throughout previous relationships, or what was that like?
Yeah, definitely something I discovered during this relationship. I mean, I've always had some sort of um, more manageable dysphoria, but it really started, and um, even starting during the time that I started transitioning. I've been on hormones for 6 months now. I didn't have a lot of dysphoria, and that kind of put me off from starting to transition at all. But there's a lot of things that I eventually started recognizing as dysphoria, but never really understood them to be that at the time. But during this relationship, a lot of things, especially during sex, would come up um, where I would where I would notice things about my body or really specific feelings that I did not like feeling, and some of the things that it really bummed me out because sorry, TMI, but during sex a lot, I would be into it at first, but then sometime during it, I would just shut down pretty much. I would just tell them to stop, and I I couldn't keep going, and I pretty much just had to go to sleep after that. Like I couldn't process my thoughts at all, and I don't really know where that comes from either. Um, that's never happened before. That was a really big thing.
I see. So, you got into some relationships under terms that sounds like you uh, learned or thought were expected of you, and then in in these relationships found that you couldn't. It didn't feel right. It wasn't. Uh, didn't feel honest or true.
Yeah, and it was. I think it was more than that. I would just. It was very like like disturbing. I would feel gross in certain situations during sex, um and yeah, it would make me question a lot of things about my body that I've never really thought about before, um, which is which is weird. I've never had those feelings so strong, come on, so strong, um, all of a sudden, like it did then.
Do you mind sharing? You don't need to get graphic. I mean, you can if you want to. This is your place, and you have anonymity. Uh, do you mind sharing what kinds of things were uncomfortable for you?
Yeah, I guess. Well, my like it's just certain positions during sex, or with the loss of libido from my hormones. I can't really get hard, and penetrative sex um, is not a thing for me at the moment. And there was just certain certain things that my partner would do. My partner, who's assigned female at birth, um, it just made me feel like I was a man having sex, um, and my body didn't like that at all. yeah, just certain positions and them holding me a certain way or telling me certain things about my body.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. So was it this stuff that led you to realize that you were not able to identify the way you had before? Were these the kinds of things that led you to transition?
Yeah, I've never felt about these things or had these feelings before transitioning, and in a way, it kind of makes me wonder where it's coming from. Like, were these feelings always there, or because in a way, it might also be kind of like validating, that these feelings are there, and that I am questioning my assigned gender. Um, but in another way, it just kind of makes me feel like these feelings weren't there before. So why am I don't like that I'm discovering bad things about my body now that I'm going through this. But I know it's kind of weird things that I think about that I don't take too seriously, because I know that I'm making the right choice about my body, and I feel much better now than I did before. But it's just little things that like that kind of like put me down and 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 just make me zone out during the day. I just can't focus on anything else, and I overthink about these kinds of things a lot.
Right. So where are you now? Sounds like you got some breakup grief. Sounds like you're still in transition. Uh, what does what keeps you up at night now? Is it the breakup? Is there something about the relationship that ended in a way you have grief about, or is it the body image stuff? What is it that is on your mind tonight, or that is on your mind most nights?
I think it's how it ended. It wasn't, it was very. We were really open and honest with each other, and that was really nice. But it was it was um, it was just after we were having sex, and it was one of those nights where I shut down, and I thought about it, and I told them that I don't like the way I feel when I'm with them during sex, and I understand that they need that in a relationship. I don't think it's something that they should compromise over, and I can't give them that. And that's something that would involve, or that being in a relationship would involve, um, and that I think it'd be best to not be in a relationship. Um, and I guess we're taking a week of just of to gather our thoughts and talk about it more soon. But it was pretty clear where things were going last time we spoke. Um, but also there's just a lot of things that I worry, because I would really like to have this person as a friend, but I also want to be open with them and be understanding to their feelings, even though um, they we might not share the same feelings about something. Um, and I also am thinking a lot about what I want to tell them, and how I want to say it. I think a really kind of big part of me not wanting to be in a relationship is that I feel like there's a lot for me to learn about my body and about relationships, and especially now during transition, I haven't been dating much, and this is the first person I started dating since I started. And I feel like there's a lot to experiment with, I guess. But at the same time, I want to get to know this person more, and I really like this person, and I want them to be in my life. But it's just kind of weird, or it's been tough thinking about the idea that they might not want to see me that way. They might not be able to handle just being friends, you know?
Right. I think that's a difficult part of breaking up in general. Some people are across the board just unable to be friends with someone that they've been intimate with. And with other people, sometimes you have people who are more open-minded and can be friendly or cordial after a intimate relationship, but maybe something happens. Maybe somebody did something nasty, or maybe somebody was mean or spiteful in some way, and it soured the dynamic. I'm not saying that's what you did. I'm just saying, like, yeah, like this is the difficult part of relationships, because more often than not, I mean, it takes a lot, I would say, for people to be cool after a breakup. Uh, I'm not saying I like it that way. I think it would be better if everybody could just get along and people could be cool and not do stupid things that they're going to regret, or carry baggage that's too heavy to carry through life. I think a lot of people do this. But the point is that I do think it's an unfortunately normal part of breakup, or we'll say average part of breakup. Uh, and so I hope that eases your mind in some regard. I'm not saying that it makes it perfect. I mean, you can't control what the other person feels. Maybe the other person feels like they weren't enough for you, or something like that. Not that you made them feel that way, but maybe the other person is dealing with some inferiority response to this. Maybe, I'm saying maybe, I don't know the situation. I don't know you or your partner, but I will say that if uh, if you guys were if that's how things ended, then maybe the other person just needs time. Maybe they need time to realize uh, it wasn't them, it was you. And of course, it's a cliche, and I'm not saying you go tell them it's not you, it's me, because that's a cliche for a reason, and it's overused. But I don't know if it makes sense what I'm saying, but I'm saying that maybe you just need to give it time. Maybe in time, the other person realizes that uh, you just didn't feel like you, and that's all. It was as simple as that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I, I definitely, I'm trying to think more about um, what they're going through. I wish, I guess another thing is I wish I could talk to them right now and just kind of understand what they're, not that that I, that they owe me an explanation for anything, but I really want to know, just kind of like to understand how they see it. And I guess maybe I will in the future, but um, yeah, for now it's just kind of been like maybe trying to guess or picking at it too hard and um, overthinking about it.
Yeah. So you're experiencing some rumination. You're ruminating on the breakup. You're wondering what they're thinking. You want them to. You wish you could. It sounds like you wish you could download your experience to them, so they didn't feel put off by you, or betrayed by you, or hurt by you. And yeah, that sucks. That's really hard. That's the hardest thing about breaking up with someone is, uh, especially when there's some confusion or misunderstanding, that Sometimes it takes time. My gut says this is going to take time for uh, you know for the other person to realize. I wonder, have you said anything to them? Sounds like this is fairly recent, but I wonder if you've said anything to them afterwards about, like, hey, I'm not looking to like get back with you or anything, but I just want you to know, like, uh, you're an amazing person, and uh, I'm really sorry if I was confusing or if I uh, uh, confused you. Something like that. Have you had an opportunity to say something like that to the other person?
No, and I really want to. I really it's I think how you said it was like perfect. In that like I want to download my thoughts from my brain to there so that they can see my experience and understand that I'm not trying to hurt them in any way, and that it really is just me going through a lot of things. Um, yeah, that was really really well said. Um, but yeah,
That's the hard thing about life. We can't do that.
yeah, I really hope I do get to talk to them and just explain things so that maybe they understand them a little bit better.
Right. Mary Baker from the chat is kind of seconding this thought. They say, I will say it isn't impossible to be friends after breaking up, but it does take time and depends on both parties wanting that friendship. That's kind of what I'm saying. And also, you've got some complexities about your breakup that are not unique, but are uh, special. They're not average. I don't know what the best way to put it would be, but you're not the first person to break up in this way, but it's also not uh, average, and so uh, there's naturally going to be some confusion, and uh, that's naturally going to take some time to clear up. I mean, the other person might still have a lot of feelings for you. They're trying to reconcile. It might be too painful for them to think about being friends with you right now. Uh, and maybe in time, you'll get a chance to say something, share some words with them that will help them realize that you still see them as a super awesome, amazing, the same amazing person you always saw them as, uh, and that you just were going through some stuff that uh, didn't make you a good match in your mind, and that it wasn't, all the stuff I've said tonight are more elaborate ways of saying it's not you, it's me, and nobody wants to hear it's not you, it's me. So, when I say things like have you had
Yeah,
the opportunity to say you're amazing, and I still see you as amazing, and I'm really sorry if I confused you. That's a more elaborate way of saying it's not you, it's me, more descriptive, more colorful. And maybe my hope is that in time you'll get the chance to share with them exactly what that was like for you in a way that uh, heals some things. And, we don't want to burn bridges. We want to build bridges. So
yeah,
I hope you get that bridge.
yeah, totally. I hope I do too. I'm, I'm trying not to not get too impatient um, and give them their own space too. So yeah, hopefully it works out when I do talk to them soon.
Yeah. And this is a beautiful time for you to be working on yourself. You're not responsible to anyone else. You don't have to report to anyone else. You're free and single now. So this is a great time for you to be working on yourself and asking these questions, and so that when you do come to that conversation with this person in time, that you actually have uh, some meaningful things to share, so that it's not just more confusion, so that you can say, look, like, I took a lot of time after that to really get to the bottom of XYZ, and the answers are ABC, and I'm really sorry, or whatever the words are. So I do hope you get that opportunity, and really sorry to hear about all you're going through. And I think that, there's an element of this that's really natural and normal, and there's an element of this that is a little more specialized, and not average, which is that, there was some confusion around sex, and to say it's not average or not normal doesn't mean it's like something, you know, messed up about it or something. It just means that, the answers won't be readily available for you on Google. you know, you won't be able to Google these questions. So I'm wishing you the best, and I hope you'll call back in the future. I hope we have a good update from you. And our hearts go out to you. There's a lot of good stuff in the chat you can revisit after the call.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks. This helped a lot. It's good to talk things out. Yeah, maybe I'll try and join and see if I can get a good update. Thanks.
Looking forward to that. Take care of yourself. Good
Good
luck.
talking to you. Bye.
You too. Good night. All right, chat. Lines are opening back up. Hello, thanks for calling.
Hey, I'm amazed I got through. Well, okay, I know. Give me a second, please.
Good. Take your time. Let's start with your age, if you're cool with that, and then a brief intro.
Yeah, I'm 28. I'm married, got a couple of kids. A foster parent, and I've been struggling with anger issues ever since I got together with my wife. And came to a head a couple years ago when we got into an argument in our room, and one of our only foster kids at the time came to our bedroom telling me to stop yelling, and I yelled at her, and it was at the top of my voice, and I yelled at her twice to go because she wouldn't go the first time, and she went. We finished our argument. It was not a pretty argument, but we finished it. And a week or two later, the caseworker of that foster child came to our house to do her monthly visit with her. And we thought, hey, we probably should tell them, let them know this happened. And so we did. We told them we got in an argument. I told them I yelled at that foster child, and that I was going to start counseling because anger issues have happened with me in the past, and that just came to a head then. So I called a bunch of places, gone into counseling, and for like the last 2 years I've been in counseling and doing it regularly, sometimes once a month, sometimes once every couple weeks. Just depends on what's going on with my life. Right. So I did that, been doing that. Because we told on ourselves, our license got frozen. And months went by where we just didn't know what we had to do to unfreeze it. And finally they told us, take a class. We did, and it was almost 2 years that our license was frozen over this one incident that we told on ourselves about. That the foster child in question told us later on that it wasn't actually that big of a deal to her. And it was, because no one should yell at the top of their lungs at a child like I did.
Can I ask a
Um,
couple questions just to make sure I'm keeping up with you and that everybody else is keeping up with you?
yeah, yeah.
Uh, when you say your license got frozen, does that mean that you lost the foster child?
No. And this is where it gets weird because our licensing worker did not do the proper procedures. Um, we did not lose the child. We just could not accept any more, which we weren't planning on accepting more anyway. But it was still, I guess, a punishment in their eyes. But no, we kept the
Okay.
foster child. Um, yeah. Did you have another question?
Yeah. How old is the foster child, or when this happened
Uh,
anyway?
she was 12, I think, going on 13 um,
Okay.
at the time. And yeah,
So old enough to kind of dish it back to you a little bit. Sounds like.
yeah. And this child did that a lot. She was very manipulative, and not just with my wife and I, but with her two other siblings that we had at one point. Because my wife got pregnant, we asked them to take them out of our house so that way we could deal with the pregnancy, not really deal with, but enjoy the pregnancy, and I could help my wife and focus on her. But they all went to a different house. But this was before this incident. We got her back because she had issues at the other house with the biological children of that other family. So we were willing to take her back. It was in the same school district, so she still got to see them and everything. So it worked out, and we were willing to take her back. But
Okay.
this, we have a really bad relationship with DCFS because of a multitude of reasons. One of which is just the delay that they had in this case with these three children. Like I said, this girl was very manipulative, not just with us, but with her two siblings. But she was ready to get out of the foster care because she was in it for much too long, and DCFS in our area was not doing what they should have been doing. So we were getting frustrated with them. The kids I know were too, and I think she was taking it out like that. So I don't completely blame her for doing the things that she did and for trying to step into an argument. But yeah. But so yeah, our license got frozen. Going back to that, and we did what we had to get it unfrozen. And about, I think, less than a week later, we got a call for a girl that we took in. We took care of her for, I think, a month, and she had to go, or we had to put in her 2 weeks because she had some issues that we weren't ready to deal with. And I think that next night we took in these two boys. And this is where I guess the meat of this, what's going on right now with us, happening. For 2 months we had the boys, and they got along with our two girls great. We got along with them and got really close to them. We found out parental rights were terminated a week or two within the time that we had them. So my wife and I started talking with each other about, do we want to adopt these boys? At first I was hesitant, but the more time I spent with them, the more time I felt like they were our boys. And that's not
Right.
a feeling that we usually allowed in because of how foster care works. But we knew there was potential there for adoption. And when the boys found out a few weeks ago that their parents lost parental rights, we asked them,
do you want to stay with us forever? And they said yes.
Wow.
And they were really excited. They had their own struggles, specifically with school that we hadn't even gotten into because school had started at that point. But we were willing to work with them, and they were just so great. And a week ago, I think it was a week ago. No, it was less than a week ago. The licensing worker and their caseworker showed up to our house on a surprise visit after a week for the licensing worker, after a week of not messaging us back and letting us know why our license got frozen a second time. About 2 weeks ago, we got a letter saying it was frozen. We messaged her immediately, messaged her supervisor, and we're like, what's going on? Why is our license frozen? Nobody gave us an answer. This past Thursday or Friday, I don't remember what day it was. Caseworker, licensing worker showed up to our house, and they told us that we had a complaint formed against us about things that were bullcrap. Something about their health not being taken care of with us, which every time they were sick, we took them to the hospital, and not punishing them the correct way, or just that, and not treating them the same as we would treat our daughters. And none of them were true. And like I said, I've had anger issues in the past, but none of these complaints were about my anger issues. And my wife and I still can't figure out why somebody would call DCFS on us for things that we never did. And so the boys were taken from our home. Luckily, they went to a friend of ours' home, but because of circumstances that I can't really get into, they're going somewhere else within the next couple weeks, probably. And we're not sure if we're going to get them back.
I'm really sorry to hear that.
We've called everybody that we've thought of calling, and by we, I mean my wife. She made most of the calls, but she called everyone that she could think of to try to get answers, and we're not getting any answers on if we'll even get the boys back, if and when the investigation comes back that none of the accusations are true.
Is there some form of appeal? Is there any appeal process, or is it possible? This is a separate question. Is it possible that the caseworker that you were trying to be upfront and honest with about the yelling with the foster child? I mean, you guys did the right thing by trying to be upfront and honest about that, and it sounds like somebody just was having a bad day, or just didn't like you for some reason, or was prejudiced in some way. Do you think that could have backfired on you, and maybe somehow that's still affecting you, that you were honest about that? And I'm not saying, I mean, I think it was the noble thing to do, to be honest about that. And I believe your story. I believe that you're in therapy trying to get to the bottom of that stuff. I believe you, and the chat believes you when you say that this means a lot to you, and that you're working on it, and that you don't want to parent in that way. And yet I wonder if there is some way that is still affecting you, that you might be able to appeal.
Well, our license being unfrozen, the official story is our license being unfrozen was the end of it. But because and this is where, again, where it's just, I feel like it's utter bullcrap. But because our license had to be frozen a second time, even though it was just an anonymous complaint made against us that has yet to be proven, proven true or false. Because because our license was frozen a second time, they had to take the kids out, apparently. So, yes and no, because the initial issue from 2 years ago did freeze our license, but that had nothing to do with the complaints made right now.
Okay.
So that's kind of like what they told us when we were asking them questions about it. So yes, it is affecting us, but not really. So,
man, I'm so sorry to hear about all this. This is...
And this is coming on the heels of, I feel like my life is a wreck. Like I said, I've had anger issues. I've kicked a hole through our bedroom door out of anger. I feel like everywhere I look in our house, I see a spot where I got angry. And if I let it get to me, it brings me to a place I don't like. And this along with fostering issues that we've come up with, a couple weeks ago, I ended up, I feel like I'm already giving a lot of details, so I want to kind of cut back on the details.
That's fine. Whatever
But
makes you comfortable.
thank you. I have a summer job and a non-summer job. And at my summer job, probably a month and a half ago, I was in an argument over the phone with my wife because in my head, I thought she was upset with me over the punishment that I was giving the boys. And it was an extended timeout because of a behavior that was going on. And looking back, it was the wrong kind of punishment. It was just an extended timeout, but it was a lot longer than it should have been. Since then, I've made the change to not do that. But at the time, I was just getting very defensive with my wife, got off the phone with her, and I kicked and shattered a door, a glass door. And because of that, and my wife later came to the job because we both worked there. She asked me to go to my parents' house and just stay there for however long she needed me to. And that broke me because I have already been feeling like our marriage is just on the brink of collapse. So that was during the time with the boys too, and we were just telling them I was just staying to help my parents out because they're not doing too great. But I mean, it was because of shattering the door. But no one saw it, but I immediately called the person, I guess, that's in charge of the building and let them know what was going on. They had I guess, a counselor or somebody you can go talk to, and I went and talked to him. I was like, hey, this is what happened, and my life is a mess. And I talked to him about it, but somebody else knew the staff of that building, and I just felt completely judged by them, which rightfully so, but it didn't make matters that great. But I guess I feel like I'm going on and on, but I need to go back a little bit. I called the suicide prevention hotline because for probably like the past year, maybe, I've just been wishing that I could just die in a freak accident. I have no desire to kill myself. And so I guess that's good, but I want to be gone. Just life and of all of its problems, it's suffocating me. And if I let it get too far, I just get this strong desire to just not be here. Like I said, I don't want to take my own life. But I mentally just am done. Like I said, I have two girls. They're young. I won't say their ages, but they're younger. And lately, I've been trying to spend more time with them, trying to, I guess, let them get under my skin, and to the point where I, can't just hope that I pass and not get to see them grow up. And that's been helping. I'm just trying to focus on my family. But with the boys being taken, that's just another layer onto this that isn't good, I guess. My wife's mental health is not doing great either. And she doesn't go to a therapist or counselor or anything like that, just because of having kids, and it's hard to make time. But yeah, so I'm strangely not feeling like I just would want to leave Earth, I guess. I want to phrase it a little bit differently for any triggers or anything, but I don't know. I'm just not, with the boys being taken and my issues already, it's hard. It's hard to just see the future and everything being better at some point. It's hard to see me having self-worth, because there's that else. A lot of times I just don't feel worth it, and I feel like a failure.
Can you hear me, caller?
Yeah, I can.
I apologize. We had I'm on a new machine streaming, and there have been some occasional glitches with the audio. I lost you for a second. I heard most of what you said.
Okay.
Last thing I heard you say was that your wife's mental health hasn't been too great either, and I heard everything before that.
Okay.
And what did I miss between those 2 points?
She doesn't make time to go to a therapist or a counselor or anything.
I see.
She says that it's just hard. It's hard to make time for that with kids, and she's totally right. But I'm trying to work on my mental health while trying to do what I can for her mental health, and trying to take care of our kids. So that's just another added layer to everything. And a lot of the times I feel like a failure.
Right.
I just can't keep up with everything.
Let's dig into that a little bit if you're open.
Yeah.
If you're just joining, we have a caller on the line who is a foster parent and was attempting to, he and his wife were wanting to adopt 2 boys that they were fostering, and it seemed like everything was good, and then at the last minute, some bogus report came out that with a bunch of bogus. The caller says these are bogus claims against them. They don't know where they came from, but these claims kept them from adopting these kids that wanted to live with them, and there's been a lot of grief. The caller has been sharing about an anger management journey they've been on for a couple years now, and said that this has been really taxing on his marriage, and has just had an incredible journey. It sounds like. So we're just hearing the caller out, and we're taking our time here. To you, the caller, you've expressed a couple times this sense of not wanting to be around anymore, not wanting to be alive anymore, but not wanting to take any action against your own life. You don't want to take your own life. You just wish you could. I believe you said earlier that you wish you could die in some freak accident. And we've come back to that thought a couple times. I want to start on. Let's start with the good news. The good news is, Tina Bean from the chat says to you, "It's refreshing to hear men be able to talk and communicate because I've been with so many that wouldn't." So, I think that's. I don't know if that is encouraging to you, but I saw that come in and I was like, that is exactly what I'm thinking. Like you're here. So many people that are where you are don't have words to describe how they feel, but I can tell that you've done a lot of work to understand how you feel. The therapy is talking. I can hear it talking in your voice. I can also tell this means a lot to you. This whole thing is a conundrum that you wish wasn't such a conundrum. I can hear it in your voice. And the good news is that you know exactly what you're up against, and that's what I think Tina Bean is trying to say. And I think that is a huge thing that shouldn't go unmentioned. So I'm highlighting that here for you, that the chat and I both see that you have done a lot of work here. And, now let's get into some of the darker stuff. Obviously the world is full of chaos, and it's mostly chaos. Pareto, according to Pareto principle, there's 80% chaos and 20% order. It's not, I'm speaking in generalities, of course, so there's exceptions, but, most things are propped up by some kind of Pareto distribution of 80% chaos and 20% order. And the 20% of order usually is enough to balance out the 80% of chaos, but it still doesn't discount that the world is full of chaos and things that we can't control, people that will misjudge us, people that will misunderstand us, people that will have vendettas against us for reasons we don't understand. And it doesn't sound like we know who is to blame for this adoption falling through last minute, especially since the kids told you they wanted to live with you forever. And you and your wife said you'd never felt that way about any of the foster kids before. So my heart breaks hearing that. My heart breaks for you in the chat.
And can I make a correction real quick?
Please.
Yeah. It's not that the adoption has fallen through. It's still a possibility, but the fact that they got pulled from our home before the 6-month mark means that DCFS doesn't have to keep them in our home, or doesn't have aren't strongly encouraged to keep them in our home.
I see.
It could still happen when the investigation goes through, and I hope and pray they seek honesty, or they seek the truth, and it comes through. But we hope and pray that we get the boys back and we can do this. But we're at this point not sure if we're even going to keep our license, just because we'd have to deal with it for 6 more months. And our licensing workers we think the one that just has a vendetta against us. And I mentioned that too, but she just has not been friendly towards us from the day that she first became our licensing worker, and not too long after that is when we told on ourselves and had our license frozen, and I think that's had an impact on her to just see the worst in us.
I see. Thank you for correcting me on that. You know,
you weren't too far off, but I wanted to make sure it was clear.
That's a distinction for sure. I appreciate it. We were talking about the chaos of the world, and there's a couple things worth mentioning here in my mind. Number one, you're in your late 20s, and your late 20s is a time where most people are going through some kind of repackaging of everything they've learned up to that point. Some people call it a quarter life crisis.
I can see it.
Yeah. My understanding, and I could be wrong, my understanding is that this is a somewhat new kind of thing. Like, in other words, centuries ago, people didn't experience quarter life crises. So maybe it's like, due to technology, maybe it's due to the new ways in which we live today that are so novel compared to the history of the world. But it doesn't discount the point that people experience this, and it's really not too shocking, because I once heard a mentor figure of mine tell me that your 20s are about learning who you are, and your 30s are about learning how to apply that in meaningful ways into the world, how to contribute to the world with who you are. And your 40s are about realizing that, and your 50s are about reaping the benefits of having properly applied yourself. And so, that is to say, in the context of a quarter life crisis, that, you're at a time in life where you're realizing a lot of things that you were raised with, and a lot of ideas you picked up along the way as a young adult. It's not all what it was sold to you as. It's not all what it was cracked up to be initially. And you're going to have to find some new paths. You're going to have to pave some new roads, including this anger journey that you've been on, which is a huge step that is worth celebrating. The fact that you are able to come on here, even if it's anonymous, and say, look, I've had anger issues. I've kicked holes through my... You said you can't look around your house without seeing places that you've been angry. And you've been very honest and candid about mistakes you've made and things that you regret. And I think that speaks a lot to your character. And let's not discount that here, because you are able to say the thing that you want to grow in. You're able to speak the areas of growth, speak to those areas of growth that you recognize. And that is a huge thing that we cannot discount here. Because what it says is that you don't know where you picked up all this stuff from. Maybe you do know some of these things. Maybe you were raised in a angry household. Is that possible?
Yeah, I have some ideas on why I am like I am. Yeah, there's, I think, some anger from one of my parents in my household. I can't say I remember a whole lot of instances, but yeah, it was present.
Right.
And I think part of it too, like I'm a very introverted, in my head kind of person, that just really wanted to find someone, like find my life partner, my soulmate, whatever you want to call it. And I finally found it with my wife, and I thought this was perfect. Our circumstances lined up with our careers and our college and some other stuff, and I thought this was perfect. And I guess I love her, but I just didn't want to let it go. at the same time because I thought this was it. She's the one. Sorry, I completely lost where I was going with that.
It's okay. You were talking about where you picked up some of these things and how it sounded like.
Thank you.
It sounded like. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
But she was my first serious relationship, and it got serious quickly. And we saw each other because of our life situations. We saw each other all the time. So it was a tricky relationship to work through. We had to really work through a lot of our problems, and we probably still have problems that we haven't worked through yet from early in our relationship that were caused from just seeing each other all the time. And I think I never learned how to really deal with another person on that level before her, and it jumped very fast. So yeah, I feel like that's also added to just my anger that sometimes pops up. So.
Right. Well, the anger thing you can overcome, and you're already. Let's not discount the work you've done here. I'm going to keep coming back to that because it's true. You have acknowledged the areas you want to grow in. You've been in therapy for 2 years. You mentioned that some people you've shared with, it sounds like maybe it was just the people through your work that were available in the incident with the glass window or the glass door that were, you mentioned you shared with some people who you felt judged by, and it didn't feel like a truly open place. If you're still sharing with people like that are not providing an open atmosphere, environment for you to share in, then you need a new therapist. A therapist should never judge you. A therapist should never. Everything.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
My therapist isn't. Sorry, my therapist is completely neutral on it. It's the place where that summer job is. There's one person that works there that I just have not gotten good vibes from, I guess. That I feel. Yeah.
I'm glad that you're not still with seeing that person. I wasn't sure about if you were still talking to that person, but I did get the vibe it was like a temporary thing. But my point is that, a good therapist will challenge you and but not judge you. And I'm saying these things because I hear you being really hard on yourself. You're being really real on, let's celebrate the good things. You're being really real here with all of us, but you're also being really hard on yourself. You're saying that you, to put it in a positive way, like I'll say again, like the anger stuff you can overcome, and it's going to take time. You're in your late 20s, so give that at least a couple more years of good work, and you'll look back and see progress. Nobody's never angry.
Yeah.
Nobody's never angry. Things are infuriating in life. Certain things are infuriating.
I've been told like anger is not a bad thing. It's just what was it that somebody told me once? That anger is really just a secondary reaction to something else. Like my
sadness.
anger, sadness could be it. My anger stems from just feeling inferior or feeling worthless.
I see.
And I guess that's another thing too, where my anger could stem from. But with I said my wife and I were, because of our life situations, led us to see each other all the time. Well, before that, she had to grow up quickly for her various personal reasons. I was still at home with my parents when I met her, and my parents didn't really teach me the big how to adult, really. I had to pick up on everything from my wife, and so there was just that internalized inferiority that I felt with her, and I know it frustrated her no end to have to, I guess, show me how to do that, because a lot of the stuff my parents should have shown me. So I think
There you go.
I probably took that personally to an extent, and I think I allowed it to mess me up a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like that hit home, maybe too close to home.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I don't know what's I of course I don't know you. I don't know what is best for you. I'm not going to pretend I do. Um, and I'm also feeling a lot of things for you because I hear the pain in your voice. I hear the frustration in your voice. I also hear the progress in your voice. The voice on the phone to me doesn't sound like the person that will kick a glass door in. I hear the voice of somebody who once did that and doesn't want to do that anymore. Because I can hear progress in your voice. It sounds like when you tell me that that's a part of your past, things like this are a part of your past, I believe you. And that's why I'm trying to be very deliberate with how often we stop and celebrate the work that you're doing, because I think that, I want to see you continue that work. I want to see you keep it up. I don't know what your life will look like in 5 years, of course. This is where I was originally going. Like, I don't know if you and your wife are perfect matches. I believe you love her. I believe she loves you. You wouldn't be together if neither of you didn't love each other. I'm not here saying that you should question your marriage or you know latch onto it. Even I'm not saying any of that. Just so I'm giving a big disclaimer here, because I don't want to make you think I'm trying to tell you something that I'm not. But my point is that,
I understand.
So, I'm not sure if this is going to make sense, but I'm going to go out on a limb here. Like,
okay.
When people go to, people who die in war, people who go to war and they die, what kind of headspace do people get into when they know they might go out and die for a fight? I can only imagine, of course, and I've read a couple books on what the headspace is like, because I have some military family that I've wanted to get to know better and understand better. So I've not personally been to war, but from what I can imagine, people want to know that they lived for something. They want to know that they stood and fought for something, that their life made a difference. And that's what I hear you saying here, to a large extent, that you love these kids and you love your family and you love yourself enough to not let your anger get the best of you. And you've done a lot of work to overcome that and to create better patterns for yourself. And where I'm going with the war thing is that, you mentioned a couple times here that you've kind of, you don't want to live anymore. You don't want to hurt yourself. You don't want to take your own life, but you just wish you could die in a freak accident, is something you said before. And, I wonder if it feels, is there something that is one of these obstacles, any number of these obstacles, deflating you from what it is that you're actually trying to make your life about? Like, you're pouring a lot into this and into these kids, and your reputation has been called into question. I can only imagine how infuriating that is. Some people in the chat have been saying things like, "Don't go down without a fight," and things like this, which is kind of what got me on this line of thinking about, like, what is this? And I don't really know, because all I know is what you're sharing. So I'm trying to be very careful here, but I'm trying to inspire you. I'm trying to encourage you that the world is full of chaos, and sometimes unpredictable things happen, and yet we don't know what that'll look like 5 years from now if we just keep on fighting, if we keep on pushing for the things that are important to us, if we just keep on saying, you know what, like, the universe was wrong about XYZ, like, these false allegations about my wife and me, these are just false allegations, and it'll come out in the wash. I don't know how, but eventually it will. I'm wondering what these kinds of things sound like to you. What does it feel like to think that this is something else that is demanding you to fight for it?
I'm not exactly sure what you were asking.
So you are, yeah, I went around a lot of different tangents there, so I'm not surprised you didn't follow. Let me simplify. We all need something to fight for. And I brought up war because war is a really dangerous thing. And I'm trying to just draw some contrast between where you are and what you're up against. And I'm wondering, like, you had these setbacks, and they were severe enough that you've just lost your zest for life and you don't want to be around anymore. You don't want to hurt yourself. I get that. But you don't know what you're fighting for, is what I hear you saying. And what I'm saying to you is it sounds like you're still fighting for the same thing. Sounds like the universe served you this awful platter of false allegations and taking kids away from you that were really important to you, and called your reputation into question. And I wonder what it feels like for you to imagine yourself continuing to fight for what's important to you, and to make your life about these challenges that stand in your way, these obstacles, these hurdles. What does that sound like to you? Does that sound horrible? Does it sound invigorating? Does it sound inspiring? Does it sound all the above?
I'm thinking, like, I want to fight for my family. I want to fight to, I guess, be the best man that I can be for my wife. To really listen to her and know what she wants, and what she needs from me, and to do everything I can to help her. And I want to fight and for my girls, to raise them and just hopefully be good human beings. And if it so happens that we do get the boys back and we don't think it's too much mentally for us for the next 6 months to keep them before we can adopt them, I want to fight for these boys.
That's right. There we go. That's beautiful.
Just there's just this lingering thought that's always in the back of my mind, that when will I be good enough? Like, when will my anger problems not be a problem anymore? Because right now, it's every few months something happens. But is it every 6 months something happens that I'm better? I'm constantly, I guess, questioning when I'm okay, and when I guess when I'm better enough.
We're never better enough for anything. You're asking me. I guess you mean specifically to the anger. Is that what you mean? Or just...
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
Specifically the anger.
Well, again, let's be real specific, and let's acknowledge the work you are doing. And let's, I hear you. Let's celebrate all of it, actually, because you're saying, when am I going to be good enough? What does that signal? That signals you are it signals that you have progress to make. You have something you're still working on. So what does that signal? That signals that you've made some progress, because at some point in time, you didn't realize anger was a thing for you. It was just what you were raised in, or just what you learned from XYZ person. And at some point in time, you didn't realize this was an issue. So now you do, and that's the only reason you're able to say what you just said in the way you said it. So let's not get so far ahead of ourselves and thinking, when will I be good enough? Because nobody's good enough. Nobody's ever good enough for anything. I don't know if that makes sense what I'm saying, but like
it does. Yeah.
I'm trying to make light of a question, but the point is that you can't even ask that question without having made some progress towards the goal in the first place. So let's start there. Let's say, look, like I'm asking this question because I am making progress. I am becoming the person I am, not becoming the person I want to be. Becoming the person you are. You are that person that no longer kicks a door in. I don't know the last time you kicked a door in, but even if you did it this morning, you're not doing it right now, and you're still working on it. I'd imagine that it's been a lot longer than this morning. Since you, yeah,
About a month and a half is when I cracked that glass door. So
right. So
going on a month.
So let's acknowledge progress where it happens, because there's some vulnerability in what you're saying. You're saying, I have a problem. Everybody has problems. Everybody has things they're working on. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfectly regulated all the time. And so when will you never be angry again? Probably never, because nobody's never angry.
Mm-hmm.
But when will you learn to be the perfect example for your kids? Well, never to that too. So we can check that off too. It's getting easier. When will you learn to be the person you know you can be? I don't know the answer to that question, but I believe that we're all constantly, daily doing that work. We're all choosing what we want to be with one action at a time. And we don't know when we finally settled into something we would call homeostasis or stability or respectability. We don't know when that happens. But what I'm trying to do is make it easier by saying, like, yeah, well, you'll never be good enough for anything, and you'll never be perfect. And I'm trying to put the focus on the work that you are doing. You've been in 2 years of therapy, and I know that you're not where you are. Where you are now is not where you want to be. And I say, excellent. I say that's amazing, because now you have more to fight for. You have more to go to war with every day. This is that analogy I was getting at earlier. So when you wake up in the morning, what are you fighting for? You told me you're fighting for your family. You're fighting to be a better you. And I'm telling you, the one thing I'm telling you, and I'm maybe using too many words and too many ways of saying it, but I'm trying to come at it from a lot of different angles to make one point, which is that is your, that's what you go to war with every day. And that's a beautiful war, because it stands to rectify and uphold your family and support your family and the things that are important to you. And I don't know how long that takes. I'm not going to pretend I do. But I'm trying to motivate you and encourage you that that is a fight worth waking up for every day. And that every day, that is a beautiful fight every day.
Thank you. I get what you're saying. I hear you. I think my biggest wall is myself. Mentally, I mean, I figured this out a long time ago, but mentally I'm kicking myself down. I'm just much harder on myself. In my head, going back to my wife, she has a way of saying things that's completely normal, but I tend to take offense at that. I guess starts my anger and some angry reactions. But I forgot. I missed my train of thought.
Does your wife like to push your buttons? Do you think she likes to push your buttons?
No.
No?
Like I said, she has her own issues that she has to deal with and is trying to deal with in her own way. And I try to remember that. I try to give her as much leadway as I feel like she gives me. But there we go. That's what I was trying to think of. When she gets even slightly mad at me, I guess I beat myself up mentally about it and get all worked up thinking she's more upset than what she is, and then anger ensues on my part. And so, I mean, a lot, like my biggest hurdle, I guess, is myself and my mind telling me I'm not good enough, and that just is, I think, the root of my issues.
I hear that. I wanna recommend a resource that has been invaluable to me and to some people on these calls. Have you heard us talk about Bella Ruth Naparstek?
No.
Bella Ruth Naparstek is a social worker and an author, and she does these guided imagery meditation sessions that you can buy as an MP3 on her website. They're anywhere from, she has about 100 something different files you can buy, and they're not expensive. They're anywhere from $6 to $12, depending on the length, and then they go from anywhere from 12 minutes to an hour long. I want to say 20 minutes to an hour long. So she has some on anger and forgiveness. That one in particular I have used and has been amazing. She has one on anxiety and panic. I haven't used all of these, but I will say that these are amazing if you're learning to let go of something. She even has some for like sleeping better, and she has some for like specific medical conditions like cancer and pain relief and things like this. An amazing uh, thing she does. It's guided imagery meditation. You just pop in headphones and listen to her incredibly angelic, soothing voice, and she just guides you through some inquiry. And they never get old. You can use, I've used the same file as many as like 100 times. They never get old. I want to put this in the chat for you. Will you check it out?
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Bella Ruth. It's going in for you now. Naparstek. There might be some typos. Apologies. This is guided meditation. And yeah, a bunch of people here in the Anonymous Live community have loved these. And I've loved them. And you can go through her library and find some topics that seem relevant to you. I really appreciate you sharing the way you have tonight. You're a beautiful soul. I want to applaud you because you shared some really hard stuff tonight, and you are making amazing strides towards the goals you have, despite all you're under. You're under so much. You're under a lot, and you're in your late 20s, which is a notoriously difficult time of life. And so, I want to say that, like, please, if you take one thing away from this call, be encouraged. Wake up tomorrow and do one thing differently. Maybe it's these meditations. Wake up tomorrow with with some new spark, if you can muster it tomorrow. Some new spark, and I wonder what is one thing you can wake up with tomorrow that will be different from today. What is one thing that you can do different tomorrow, or wake up? Maybe it's a thought. Maybe it's a new ritual. Maybe it's just something you're gonna try. What's one thing about tomorrow that you know you can do tomorrow easily, that can be one step towards all of this?
Honestly, probably putting my phone down.
There you go.
Putting my all into my family, and tomorrow's my last day of my summer job, so going there and putting my all into, our boss is probably going to be telling us this needs done, this needs done, this needs done. So, putting my all into listening to them and being an example. I didn't say this yet, but I've been at that job for 10 years. It's just a summer job, but I've been there for 10 years, and I've been there longer than anyone. So, and people have treated me like I'm one of the higher ups, I guess. I'm trying to be vague with what the job is, but also, yeah, focusing on just trying to be an example and doing, what I need to do at all times, and not just most of the time at that job.
Right. I think that's a beautiful goal for tomorrow. I hope you get something out of these meditations. I'm also hoping that you'll call back here and that we can get some kind of update from you, good or bad,
Yeah.
or you know, positive or difficult. Thank you
It
again.
might be a while because I always have to wake up early, so staying up this late is usually awful for me in the mornings. But
Right.
yeah, I will try to make it a point to call back at some point and give an update.
There's no pressure to, but you can call again
Yeah.
anytime. Lines are here for you, so call again anytime.
Yeah. All right.
Take care of yourself, and hoping for a good update. Take care.
Thank you, Julian. You're awesome.
Good night. What a beautiful caller. Guys, we went late with that one. I sensed the caller was under a lot, and so we just kind of, I didn't realize how long we were on the phone, honestly, but I felt it was necessary and worthwhile. I hope you guys agree. I also want to call out a super chat that I missed earlier during the call from Casey J. Bomber for the win. Thank you for the oddly timed super chat. We're going to get right back into calls because we got about 18 minutes left in this stream. So I will say that I can't go late tonight. So if we get into another call, it'll have to be kept to 18 minutes, unfortunately. Hi there. Thanks for calling.
Hi. Good evening, Julian.
Hello.
So, I have this issue that I've been dealing with for the past 3 years. In 2019, September 2019, my brother, and in a lot of ways, it's been weighing on me, sort of.
Can you hear me?
Sorry.
Am I on speakerphone? I'm not picking up.
No, you're not on speakerphone. Yeah, I'm sorry. No, I got you in the headphone. Hold on. Let me switch this up real quick.
Okay, that'll be better.
How's this? Is this better?
That is better.
Sorry.
Can we start with your age, and then let's redo that intro so I can pick up what you're saying better.
Hey, I'm 25 years old.
Okay.
And I'm for the last 3 years, I've kind of had this issue weighing on me, and I don't feel like I've dealt with it at all. And I'm hoping maybe I can find some ways to start. It's not an experience that everybody can relate to, but I'm hoping maybe you can give me something to get to it because it's been bothering me a lot. In September 2019, my brother took his own life, and there's been a lot of little things in my life that have been reminding me of that kind of constantly. My brother and I both worked the same occupation. My wife, she's a wonderful woman. I'm very thankful that she's in my life, but part of the reason that we met was through my brother. And so in a sense, I'm sort of reminded every day of this really tremendous loss. And I feel a lot of guilt, especially about it. And I'm not really sure where to start. I've been listening to these anonymous live streams for a while. I'm hoping maybe you could give me some insight.
So, I'm really sorry to hear about your loss. It's of course, a very difficult way to lose someone. What is it you'd say led you to call tonight? Is it just struggling to accept what happened? Is it struggling to move on? Is it all of it? Is it something else?
Well, both of those things, especially. You read about like the different stages of acceptance of things like, and to be honest, I feel like in the last 3 years, I've just sort of been in denial about it. Like my brother and I didn't see each other very often as we became adults. You know, when we were younger, we saw each other all the time, hung out, you know, because we lived together. But as we got older, we sort of drifted apart, and it's sort of like for the last 3 years, he's just been, you know, on like an extended hiatus, so to speak. And so it was easier for me to think about it. And then as it gets longer and longer and longer, it's like, you know, it just keeps weighing on me more and more. It's like, okay, he's not coming back. I'm not going to go get beers with him this time.
Right. And the reminders, you said you have reminders of him everywhere you look, including in your own family, your wife. Uh,
hmm
so is it? Uh, it sounds like, yeah. I hear what you're saying. It sounds like you're really struggling to accept. Yeah, I guess the way you put it is sums it up, that you're stuck in denial. Uh, Makes me wonder, like, what would you say? Is there something that you wish you could have said to your brother that you never got to say to him?
Oh, well, there's a lot of things, I'm sure. I mean, I really, uh, I guess, mourn all of the conversations I wish I could have had with him as we grew older together. It's,
Was your brother older or younger?
he was just, he was like a year and a half older than me.
Yeah.
It was, really unexpected. And, I don't know. I guess I really, mourns the loss of. I really expected him to be there as I grew older, and that I could expect to see him flourish and grow in his life. And it really hurts that I can't see that.
Right. The universe can be really brutal. It takes things from us we don't expect, and I don't know what that's like to lose a brother, especially in that way. My heart goes out to you. I'm really sorry to hear about the loss and the way that it happened. That's got to be really
No, I
confusing.
appreciate it.
You mentioned you haven't mourned the loss. I would really encourage you to mourn that loss, not wallow in it. It's a slippery slope once we start wallowing. But if you really truly haven't mourned that loss, I can hear the emotion in your voice now, recounting this to us here, and something's telling me that needs to come out, and I don't know what emotional valve that needs to come out through, or how you open it, because I don't know you.
Sure.
But I imagine that there's some valve that you know of in yourself that has been building up some pressure that maybe you could release and give it a good cry for some time if you need to. Say the things to your brother that you never got to say, and maybe write a letter to your brother. I'm trying to think of ways to.
Yeah, I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here.
What do you think is keeping you from mourning or acknowledging?
In all honesty, I guess I'm just not entirely sure how. I've not ever really dealt with death in a significant way in my life, and then the first time I had to was one. I mean, I guess death is always unexpected, but I mean, unexpected and self-inflicted, and it was all very confusing. And so, like, my gut reaction was just to kind of, I suppose, push it away, not deal with it, because it was too challenging.
Right. This is there is an opportunity in this that I'm not saying that your brother's death is an opportunity, of course. I want to make sure I'm really clear about that.
No,
I'm
I
saying
understand.
that this situation, there's this phrase, the universe is our greatest teacher. Not sure if you've heard that before, but it's a beautiful idea that covers a lot of tragedy and complexity, and we never know what tomorrow brings. We never know what we may lose tomorrow, and
Right.
so there is an opportunity in this to, if you don't know how to grieve, if you don't know how to mourn the loss of something without wallowing in it, maybe that's why you haven't mourned it. Maybe your body is. I'm saying maybe, I don't know. Maybe your body is afraid of wallowing in it or getting lost in it. Or how do I know when to stop? Or how do I know when it's over? How do I know when enough is enough? Maybe these are like subconscious processes happening inside of you if you've never mourned before. But there is an opportunity here to release that valve. And if you haven't, I don't. All I know is what you're sharing, but I can say that if you haven't mourned the loss of anything, much less a brother, then you can't really fully heal or move on from it, because the mourning is the acknowledgement that it happened.
Right. That's a lot to consider. Well, I don't suppose I don't suppose that I should probably take up any more of your time. I do appreciate. I appreciate what you said, man.
I don't want to keep you, but we're not in a huge hurry. I've got about 5 more minutes left in the stream tonight. If you want to keep going, we can. If you're worn out, that's understandable. I can let you go. I don't want to wear you out.
No, well, you recommend books a lot. I guess do you have anything on grief or mourning? Because to be honest, I don't really know where to start.
Grief or mourning? Yeah, that's a good question. I can't recall a book off the top of my head about how to mourn effectively.
Yeah.
I've been maybe it's because in my life I've just been maybe I could say I've been an intuitive mourner. I don't know why. I haven't read any books on mourning. Let me think here. Let me see. Give me 5 seconds. Let me see if I can find a book that looks familiar on mourning or grief. I'm looking on Goodreads. I love Goodreads.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I don't recognize any of these. I've admittedly not read any books on this. So I don't recognize any of these books that I'm seeing on here, but all these look like great books. I'm not going to call any of them out specifically because I haven't even read a description. Chat, if you have any great books, if you have any great book recommendations that have helped you on grief or mourning, it would be a great time to throw these in now for the caller. And we don't need to necessarily wait here and keep you on the phone, caller, if you're needing to go. But I hope I didn't just dump a can of worms on you by saying what I said. I hope it's actually.
No, you're all right.
Is how does that feel? How does that feel when I say that? How does that feel? Does it feel intimidating? Does it feel daunting? Or does it feel like it's?
It feels intimidating in that I know I've got a lot to deal with, but that's not your fault.
Right.
I really appreciate everything that you said to me, and I appreciate you doing the stream. Thanks, man. I really do appreciate it. I watch it quite often, and I've gleaned a lot of really, really good insights from it. You're a smart guy. You have a lot of wisdom to share, and I'm really thankful to you for sharing it. So,
caller, I really appreciate the kind words, and I really, truly regret that I don't have a better book, any book to mention. I'm really sorry. Grief is not something I've had a hard time in my life with. I was only half joking when I said that's something that I guess came naturally to me. But I'm really very sorry to hear that that this has been so difficult, and naturally it's difficult. But I really do think that there's something to the idea of finding a way to. Do you have a therapist? Do you have a therapist that can? Because a short call like this, it's only so. You can only cover so much ground, and I'm not even a therapist. So, do you have somebody that can work with you on mourning?
No, I hadn't really thought that I needed a therapist until you bring it up, to be honest.
I think a great therapist is what you might need, because if you don't know how to mourn this, then a therapist can help you unpack why that is. There's probably a reason why you can't mourn it, and a good therapist will help you unpack that. I'm going to put one thing in the chat for you here.
Sure.
Psychology Today, the website, they have on their homepage this awesome tool called Find a Therapist. You can punch in your zip code, and you can even filter it out by certain you can search for specific credentials in a therapist. Like, for example, if you're going through like grief or loss, you could put that in and then filter through people that have experience with these things. Amazing tool that I've used before, and I've recommended a bunch here on the stream to find a therapist for people in your shoes. I do think that you will be really happy that you took the time to do this. And I will say it might take time to find a good therapist that you jive with. Sometimes I've spent as long as I've gone through as many as 8 therapists before finding the right one for me. So it's not, you might get lucky, and the first one you meet, you might hit it off with, and then you might also say that first therapist did not get me at all, and it doesn't mean you can't find a good one. It just keep trying, and I really do think there might be something to this for you, and I'm glad you called and shared. I'm sorry I couldn't be more helpful, but my heart goes out to you, and you're getting some love in the chat that might be worth revisiting. And
I appreciate you just listening, man.
Anytime. Call again anytime. We're here. We'd love to hear some kind of update.
Sure.
All right. Take care of yourself. Good night.
Yeah, you too. Good night.
All right, chat. Thank you guys so much for being here with me tonight. Beautiful stream. You guys are awesome. Thank you for all the thoughts in the chat. Appreciate you guys. This is not a normal stream, and it means a lot that you guys are here. It says a lot about you guys. And yeah, thanks so much for being here. Thanks to our mods that were here tonight. Round of applause for our mods. Tonight we had Deanna Krebs, Easy Cheesy, and Offcore. We had 3 mods tonight. And Nightbot. We'll give Nightbot nothing. I almost applauded again, but Nightbot's just a damn bot. So we're not going to applaud it anymore because it's no longer novel. We've already been using Nightbot for a few weeks. Thank you guys so much. We do these twice a week now on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And this is a crazy month for me. So much going on here in preparation on the channel. So thank you guys for your patience. We've done away with the Wednesday streams for now. Not forever, but it will be worthwhile. So thank you guys for your patience with me. And what the hell is going on with my PC, guys? I think I might need an exorcist to come look at this PC. It's the only explanation that makes sense anymore. I need an exorcism on my PC. I'm going to take it to the PC store and say, do you have any exorcists back there? That's literally what I'm going to do. Thank you guys so much, and have a great rest of your night. I'll see you guys here on Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern. Take care. Good night.